Can you hear me? Hi. As students are coming in, make sure you all sign in. You can use the computer or access the QR codes in the back. Also, make sure that you grab a note card or two to ask questions as the forum is going on. Make sure that on that note card you put your first and last name and the class that you're in and the city that you live in. Hi, welcome. We'll get started in a few minutes. Please make sure that you've signed in. You can either do it at the computer in the back or use the QR codes. Also, make sure you've grabbed a note card or two to ask questions. On that note card, you can write your question down. Please make sure you put your first and last name, the class that you're in, and the city in which you live, and we'll be coming around to pick those up throughout the forum. Thanks. We'll get started in just a minute.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. It's terrible at that. Like spell it out phonetically.
How long have you been mayor?
Oh, this term since May, but this is my fifth election. So I never had the pleasure of being unopposed.
Let's see, I've had 20 elections and only 3 opposed. I've had 17 unopposed elections. I make a point to tell everyone how horrible this job is. Late night calls, you miss your kids' soccer games, miss your anniversaries.
You know, there's a price to pay.
Yeah. Well, it's not as bad as
like
I can
everything
make it
else,
up.
right?
There he is. But you're giving service for your community. It's all good and long run.
Well, you had the privilege to affect change.
Yes, you do. Board meeting lasted 19 minutes. The board meeting lasted 19 minutes. Jerry says, I want to get in and get out. She says, Every chair, they had to go get chairs out of the back.
Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. Make sure you've signed in, and if you have a note card where you have a question, make sure you write it down, put your first and last name and your class and the city in which you live on that note card, and we'll pick them up as we get through. We'll start in about 2 minutes.
Laura has put herself out a lot for people to get to know her. She's on Facebook a lot. We shot
She
it.
goes everywhere.
Yeah.
She's very intelligent.
Yeah, she's. I guess that's him. We shot. Laura and I shot a video about the vaccinations.
Whenever you are.
She put it out on Facebook. I never knew I'd done so much. Mayoral's here. Good to see you. How you today?
Morning. Can everyone hear me okay? Hi, I'm Lee, Professor of Government here at TCC Northeast. I want to welcome you all to our second Mayor's Forum from Northeast Tarrant County. And I want to introduce our campus mayor, Dr. Kenya Palmer, to welcome us to the event. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. So I talked to this young man. Tell me your name, darling. Landon. So Landon and I were talking, and he was saying, you know, it was a little early for him. His day got off to a slow start. But the rest of you, if you are awake, let's try that again. Good morning. Beautiful. I'm Dr. Eris Palmore. I am your campus president. Some of you I've met before. The rest of you I look forward to meeting. I just want to say welcome. So excited for this second mayoral forum. As I was speaking with some of the mayors this morning, we were talking about what a delight it is to have the opportunity to revisit this event. COVID did not win. In so many ways, we have been looking forward to being together yet again. If you've not been a part of something like this before, you are in for such a treat. Do you know how fortunate we are to have such an incredible group gathered here of mayors of our local municipalities? They are here, they are accessible, they are ready to talk with you. There is no question that's off the table. We just invite you to be, as always, respectful. Sorry, it's the mom in me. But respectful in our engagement this morning. We're going to learn a lot from them. This is an opportunity, and the reason I asked you to talk back to me is because this is a dialogue between you as the citizenry, as students, as a community, with our local elected officials. There is so much happening within our mid-cities, There is a lot of growth and economic development. I'm excited that you'll get to hear about that today, but also that you'll have the opportunity to get to know a little bit about who our mayors are as people, what drove them into this work, what motivates them to continue on, and what excites them and made them excited about coming out to talk with students on today. So I just want to encourage you, relax, have fun, enjoy, and let's have a wonderful forum. To the mayors, thank you for your willingness to come out today. Thank you for all that you do on behalf of our communities. We appreciate you greatly. And to Emily and Clay, thank you for representing us. And to our faculty, thank you for putting together an amazing day. And to Dean Scroggins as well. Let's go on and have a wonderful event. Thank you.
We chuckled just a little because Dr. Ayers Palmer mentioned to the mayors that no question was off limits, and she didn't get to see the facial expressions of the mayors when we said that. So we had to chuckle just a little bit, but we want you to feel free to ask any questions that you want. I'm going to ask the mayors just to introduce themselves, tell us their name and what city they represent, and then we'll turn it over to the students to start our Q&A. So we can start at the end and go forward.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alicia Fleury, and I'm the mayor of Trophy Club.
My name is Antron. You can call me Dr. A or whatever, the city of Haltom City. Thank you, the president, staff, and all of you.
Art Minor, City of Watauga, and I want to thank everybody for the invitation and for showing up.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Huffman, Mayor of the City of Southlake. Once again, thanks for showing up. This is really cool. We got so many people here to listen to what we do on a local level, so thanks for being here.
And thank you for the invitation. I'm Gary Halsey, City of Haslet.
Henry Wilson, City of Hurst, and appreciate the opportunity for us to meet with y'all today.
I'm Linda Martin, Mayor of Euless. We got to do this a couple of years ago and had a great time, and I just know that we're going to have another great time today. We actually do look forward to your questions, so make them good.
We know how to say I don't know.
Okay. Our questions are going to be, sorry, sounds like I can. Right, our questions will be submitted by our students, Emily Jenkins and Clay Bragg, so we'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for being here. So our first question is for the Honorable Mayor from the town of Trophy Club. And the first question is, what made you want to run for mayor?
We would have to go back to my first term on council because it is quite a funny story. I was at my son's recreation football practice. He was still, in the young age where you're not quite playing for your school team yet. And after practice, a current council member had asked me, hey, have you ever thought about running for council? Well, at that time, I had no idea what local politics were. And I just simply said, well, is that like PTA? I'm already on the executive board of PTA. And he laughed, no, not quite. So that was my first experience into getting into local politics. But they said, well, you're in with the school system, you're vocal, you volunteer a lot in the community, we think you would be a great council member. And so I go, okay, I'll think about it. And so I applied to be on our CCPD board, which is our Crime Control Prevention District, pretty much setting the budget for our police department. And I started there for a few months. And then I threw my hat in the ring to be a council member. And during my term there, I felt I was making a difference in getting things done that I had wanted to. And then towards the end of my council term, I was asked, well, have you ever thought about running for mayor? Well, that's quite a big step from a first-term council member into mayor. And my first reaction was, heck no. And I'll censor myself there because my goodness, how could I be mayor? Haven't even completed a first term on council. But I did realize we were doing a lot of good work and we were making a difference and making things better. So I wanted to continue the momentum. And so I said, okay. And here I am today.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Our next question is also for the Honorable Mayor of the Town of Trophy Club. Is there a specific program or initiative in your city that you would like to tell us about?
couldn't hear you very well.
Specific
We
program,
couldn't hear you very well.
a specific program or initiative.
The specific program or
Okay, I got you.
initiative that I'm most proud of, that I love to champion, is what I brought forth while as a council member. Our community had suffered through a rash of teen suicide within our bubble, and the community, of course, was devastated, and we wanted to do something. And so after researching and talking with mental health professionals and our educators in our school district and people like that, we originally thought we had a bullying problem as the root. But after speaking with these professionals, we realized it was more of a mental health awareness issue. And so we created Hope Kindness Community to talk about mental health awareness, suicide prevention, and anti-bullying, and trying to get people the resources needed to deal with these things. And we had to change the mindset and get rid of the stigma about mental health. It's okay to talk about it. It shouldn't be taboo. It's okay to say the word suicide. You can't say, oh, Faith passed away last week. You need to say, Faith took her life last week. So people understand the magnitude and the depth of what's happening around us, and it's okay to talk about it. And reducing the stigma as far as you wouldn't walk around with a stomach ache or a headache for 10 years. But people who suffer from any sort of mental illness will walk around 10 years suffering and in pain instead of getting treatment. We really need to treat our brain just like any other organ. If it's hurt, if it's broken, if it's diseased, if it's ill, you go to a doctor and you get healthy. And that's how it should be. Parents who take their children in for their annual sports physicals to play football or to be a cheerleader, you should take your child in to get a mental health checkup, just like a dental health checkup. So we've really tried to institute activities and events and education to really drive that message home. So we created Campaign for Kindness, and that integrates our school district, our local businesses, our communities, our nonprofits, just everyone that touches our community to spread kindness. Instead of saying, don't be a bully, don't do this, don't be mean, we say things like, be kind, it's free. It costs nothing to smile at someone, say hello, open the door. So that this was our 5th year. Just last February, we do a month-long campaign for kindness because February is National Kindness Month, and we encourage random acts of kindness. We have challenges. We have a fun run that we associate with a charity or a cause. The first year, we partnered with Think Kindness, who donated shoes for children in Africa. If you live in Africa, you can't go to school without shoes. So if a family had 1 pair of shoes and 3 kids, the first kid wears the shoes to school for a couple hours, comes home, the second kid puts on the shoes, goes to school for a couple hours, and so on and so forth. So we had our whole community involved to donate thousands of pairs of shoes for the orphanages in Africa. And then throughout the years, we've done other campaigns, a yellow mailbox where you send letters of kindness. And this last one, we partnered with Gallant Few, which is a local organization, but actually one of our other council members and Trophy Club residents, Carl Munger, who assists families and veterans in helping them transition from active duty to coming back home. And we do local and worldwide causes to show that one person can make a difference, whether it's at home or across the world. So that's the biggest initiative, because I think kindness leads into every other facet of your life, whether it is personal relationships, professional relationships, in businesses, in local businesses, and your local neighbors, your neighboring communities. If you can start there and build on that, everything seems to be better. So that's the biggest initiative that we're still working on, is our Campaign for Kindness, just getting everyone involved, and hopefully it spreads throughout our district, in the world actually.
Thank you so much for sharing. We have our first question from the students, and this is going to be for the Honorable Mayor from Haltom City. It is, what part of Haltom City do you live in and why? What part of Haltom City do you live in and why?
Why I become the mayor?
Oh no, what part of Haltom City do you live in and why?
In the south
Okay,
of
cool.
Haltom City. You ask me why?
Yeah, yes.
Easy, because low payment for rent.
Nice.
I was a poor boy at the beginning when I moved over from Vietnam to, after the war, I flew to Thailand. I'm a fighter pilot. And when I come to Pennsylvania, I don't think this is a place for me. I love snow, but after first snow, ma'am, Mike,
Mr. Microphone, so they can hear you.
I'm sorry, and first I moved to Pennsylvania, and I love to see the first snow, and waiting for overnight, I couldn't sleep. And after the snow falling for all day, and I hike snow, I moved to Texas. By the way, you know, myself, just like her, I'm not a politician or politician. I worked in law enforcement for 32 years. This is my first college here, and they call TCJC 1989. I come here to learn back about ESL to make sure. Even they say you can go ahead because I graduated from U.S. Air Force. At that time, we learned English just 6 months to be a pilot. You know how hard it is. My second language is French, and my third language is French, and fourth language is Spanish and Chinese. I choose to, you know, at beginning, I went, during the time I worked for district attorney office, gang, homicide, and narcotic. Majority of my time is undercover. And the city of Haltom City, they have no pay rate for employee whole time, 7 years. And the police officer asked me, would you mind to run for city council? And I said, well, just like her, it's a shot, you know, why you want to be city council. Until I get there, I got elected the first time, and nobody believed I could beat the Caucasian guy. And most of my opponents are Caucasian, and I am minority. That city never had a Vietnamese or a minority to be a council, maybe one Spanish, but majority Caucasian. And it's hard for me, but I try, and I won almost 70%, you know. Since that time, my second term, third term, no opponent. Until I ran for the mayor 2019. And we have two opponents, one a former mayor and one a former deputy mayor. Both Caucasian run against me, and they have a party in North Richland Hill for a victory party because they don't believe Asian can win. And I beat them both without runoff. And my second term, 2021, I against one of the Caucasian guy again, and I won 78%. And the city hall, 75%, been failed many times. And I hope next time they see the number so they don't run against me so I can save the money. But by the way, you know, I am different with the other mayor before. When you come to my meeting, you will hear a lot of laugh. And because a lot of people believe, I elect you, your job, doing it. But looking at this one, I told everybody, this meeting is not for mayor, council, and city staff, for all of you here or at home. You have a good idea, talk to me. We will try to improve. But I don't allow nobody come in front of here and insult somebody, use the inappropriate language, I would tell them sit down or I remove them. Because I believe everybody, doesn't matter what race, need to be treated equally under my marriage home. And that's about me, but if you want to hear my story, about 10 hours, okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next question is for the Honorable Mayor from Watauga. What does the day in the life of a mayor look like?
Well, what is the day in the life of a mayor look
Oh.
like? Only the good stuff. Only tell me good stuff.
Well, phone calls, emails, and meetings. And that's pretty much it. I field phone calls from citizens as well as council members. Lots of emails from citizens. I respond to every email I get from a citizen. And then lots of meetings, city council meetings. I attend every board meeting that the city has, because I believe if I'm there, I see what's going on and I'm not operating off of secondhand information. So I do a lot of meetings. And also, we have Chamber of Commerce. Dr. Ayers is a big part of that. I've known her now for several years. In fact, I've been bugging her for over a year to do this again. Meetings with city attorneys. I go to school board functions. Last week, I went to a reading at one of the Keller schools where I read to several classes. I get to do a lot of fun things like that. And let's see, I have a mayor's book club with the library. We do that every couple of months. Like I said, school board meetings. And that's pretty much it. It keeps me busy, a lot of fun stuff. I try to stay away from what I call unsocial media.
Thank you.
And that's it in a nutshell. One thing, if I would add, I've got this hanging up in my office, and I try to tell people about this all the time. Lyndon Johnson once said, "When the burdens of the presidency seem unusually heavy, I always remind myself it could be worse. I could be a mayor."
Thank you so much.
The next question we have is for the Honorable Mayor from Richland Hills. What opportunities do you have for residents to become more involved?
I don't think he made it.
Our next question is going to be for the Honorable Mayor from Haslet, and what made you want to run for mayor?
So the question is, why did I want to run for
Yes.
mayor? Okay, and please excuse me, I did provide my bio prior to this, but this is my 5th term to be mayor, so this is my 5th election. But this time, last May, why did I want to run for mayor? And when the meeting started here, he said, no question would be off limits, and I'll tell you, my answers will not be off limits. So there were 3 reasons, and all equally important. Why did I want to run for mayor? I saw that over time that, now the last time I served as mayor was 2009. So I relinquished being mayor, made a conscious decision to do that. But over that period of time, as I saw that the will of the people was being ignored, that our form of government had been illegitimately altered, and that due processes were being circumvented in our city. And it was taking us in a direction that a vast majority of the citizenry did not want. That's why I ran for mayor.
Thank you so much.
Our next question will be for the Honorable Mayor from Southlake. What opportunities do you have for residents to become more involved?
Ooh, that's a great question. Yeah, that's a really good question. Let me say first, when the mayor from Haltom City was talking about running opposed and unopposed, it kind of spoke to me at a deep level. I ran for council 3 times unopposed, which was great, and then ran for mayor and was opposed. And winning was great, but I got to tell you, between the two, the only way to run for office is unopposed. It's a lot cheaper that way, as it turns out. Well, listen, in Southlake, just like all of these cities, there are a ton of ways for citizens to get involved. And let me tell you, we're not doing you a favor by allowing you to be involved. You're doing us a huge favor. Our cities don't run without volunteerism, especially from folks like you. We have to have an army of people helping out and pitching in everything we do, or it just doesn't work. So there are a lot of different official and unofficial ways to get involved. And I'll tell you a few of the ways that I think all these cities have in common. So we all have boards and commissions. And these boards and commissions, typically there's an application process. Sometimes there's an interview process. But these boards and commissions are everything from our planning and development process. So a lot of what we do as mayors and as city council people is planning and development, right? So some of y'all may know what that means. From a city standpoint, what that means is when an owner of a piece of land wants to build something on it or change the use, that's our planning and development process. And ultimately, city councils have the final votes for that sort of thing. So if somebody has a piece of raw land in Southlake and wants to put homes on it, they got to take it all the way through the process and it gets to us for a final vote. Like I said, it's a big part of what we do. But before it gets there are all kinds of boards and commissions it has to go through. Planning and Zoning Commission is very active in Southlake, just like it is in all of our cities. We actually have another board called our Corridor Planning Committee, and it's a board full of city volunteers. These are all unpaid volunteer roles and unelected roles that look at these projects and give the developers feedback before it even gets to city council. And they say, you know what, I like your idea here, maybe you could tweak it this way. Or sometimes it's, hey, honestly, it's a cool project, but it's probably not the right piece of land. All that stuff is done by volunteers. And it is critically important we have good, smart, involved people, and frankly, young people who are willing to step up and be involved in that way, or else it makes our job impossible. So that's kind of on the planning and development side. We have our Parks Board, which manages the use and the development of parks. We have different boards that manage the spending different funds in the city, park funds or crime control funds. Money comes in and it's got to be spent in a certain way pursuant to the budget that we pass. But there are a lot of boards that have their hands in that, directing where these funds go. That's all done by city volunteers. We also have, those are the appointed kind of sides of it, but we also have unappointed, sort of unofficial volunteers. One of the things we've really tried to do in Southlake is throw these really cool cultural celebrations. So this October, a few months after I won mayor, we had our very first Hispanic Heritage Festival in Southlake. We had 3,000 folks turn out for it. That was put together by a team of volunteers, actually in about 2 weeks. It was an incredible deal. None of them were appointed. They had a heart for this. We had a heart for it, and we made it happen. It was a ton of work. It was all free work, but it wouldn't happen without these volunteers. We have a huge Diwali Fest. We have a huge Oktoberfest. We have a great Christmas celebration. We have a great Stars and Stripes Festival. All these things are put on by volunteers, and they're such a benefit to the fabric of our community and the surrounding cities as well. And like I said, they don't happen without volunteers. So I would put it to you guys, if you're here, you're interested in local politics, you're interested in local government, it's so much more than just running for office. It's about rolling up your sleeves and getting to work and telling the folks, telling the cities, wherever you are, what do you have for me? Because I promise you, if you step up and you say, I want to help, we will find a place to put you. And like I said, we can't do our job without folks like you willing to help us out. So yeah, great question.
Thank you so much. We have another question for the Honorable Mayor of Southlake. And the question is from the audience, and it says, share an experience you had dealing with a difficult situation and how you handled it.
Repeat that again, please.
Share an experience you had dealing with a difficult situation and how did you handle it?
A difficult situation.
Southlake.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is that Southlake?
Yes,
Yeah, it's Southlake.
Oh, I got that question. A hard question. Let me know. Listen, as a mayor, we deal with hard issues. I mean, it really is every day. All of us sit on city councils, and we're one vote of, in Southlake, we're one vote of 7. My vote counts the same as the rest of the council members. But being mayor, occupying the center chair means that our direction to both city staff and to council, the way we lead meetings means that we're in the center of every conflict point. And, you know, I've been doing leadership since I was in college, and you really got to have the heart for it. You got to have the stomach for it too, because sometimes these things that we deal with, whether it might be a tough development case, it might be a thorny political issue, it might be a cultural issue, whatever it is, you've got to be comfortable sitting in the chair and making decisions sometimes that upset people. But you've got to have the strength of character and conviction to make the decision and to go with it, even if you know it's going to upset folks. We have development cases all the time. You know, Southlake is 31,000 people. It's not a huge city. And so a lot of the development community, it's the same faces that bring different cases, right? And you get to know them. They're your friends. And so having a development case brought by a friend and knowing that as a friend, you want to support them, but maybe it's not the right thing for the city, and this has happened probably a dozen times in the last 7 or 8 years, that's hard. Sometimes you have to cast a vote knowing that you're going to get a text about it that night from a friend whose feelings are hurt. We've all been there. So like I said, leadership, you got to have the heart for it. You've got to be comfortable sometimes making decisions that upset people that sometimes you're close to. So yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is for the Honorable Mayor from Euless. What does the day in the life of a mayor look like for you?
Well, I think it was summed up before. It's a mishmash of things. Sometimes you'll find me reading Dr. Seuss to a kindergarten class in the morning and meeting with congressional and state representatives in the afternoon. And there's no such thing as the same thing every day, which makes it a whole lot of fun. And I'm going to turn this question around and beg forgiveness from Dr. Ayers-Palmore later. I want to say a few things about how city government runs. We all have a council manager form of government, and citizens will get mad at a police chief. They'll say, you need to fire that police chief. We have nothing to do with hiring and firing city employees. We have a city manager that we hire as a council. In fact, there are only 3 people that we hire as a council. It's a city manager, city secretary, and municipal court judge. They make all the everyday operational decisions. We're the policymakers, the legislators, and very, very often the main ambassador for your city. And that's a really important part that kind of gets lost frequently. We have a great city manager. She doesn't quite hit 5 feet tall, but she is an amazing woman. And
You're taller than she is.
I know, I'm taller than she is by about almost 2 inches.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing about city government. We're not politicians. I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant. The thing that most people don't understand is that none of us are paid for what we do. We serve as council members and mayors because we love our city. We have a passion for having it grow and grow in the right way, and having citizens that are really happy to live in your city. I always say, we get asked frequently, why is Euless never in the news, and why are you so quiet? Well, for being the 4th largest city in Tarrant County, we like it that way because that means we're doing things right. There are 3 things to me that are important to keep a city running well. The first is, in our city, the first is that the citizens elect you, and once they elect us, they trust us to do the right thing. Do the right thing is the unofficial motto of our city. And the second thing is that we have great staff. We have visionary staff. They can find ways around any problem that people can encounter. Third of all, we have a council that works extremely well together. We're cohesive. We can agree, we can disagree, and we can slam each other to the ground. But at the end of the day, we're going to walk out of that room smiling and still friends because we all genuinely like each other. So that's kind of more of what a typical day in the life of a council member or mayor is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question is for the Honorable Mayor from Hearst. And it is there a specific program in your city that you would like to tell us about?
Yeah. First, it's an honor to be here today. Back 30, 40 years ago, we had a mayor, Bob Hampton, who since passed away, that had a vision of trying to get citizens more involved in the city. So Hearst started the very first volunteer in action program in the state of Texas. And it's a program that allows citizens to volunteer to help different departments within the city, whether the library, the senior center, even some work that can be done on non-lethal or whatever police work on helping filing papers. And so they are able to volunteer and give their time. We have currently about 150 citizens that are a member of that program. And over the years, they've saved the city somewhere around $6 to $7 million in salary by volunteering their time. So it's a program that we're very, very proud of. It's been shown at national conferences as the model program. So it's one that allows our citizens to be involved and help us out both physically and financially. So we have a banquet for them every year to show our appreciation. So you get to work all year long and have a free meal.
Thank you. Our next question is for the Honorable Mayor from Haltom City. What opportunities do you have for residents to become more involved?
Okay, let me get close. Talking about involvement, not just the citizen, but have to be the mayor, the council too. For example, Haltom City was one of the oldest city in Haltom City. In the last, before I become mayor, 30 years, do nothing. Our employee was the lowest pay scale in the county. Employees start to move in from the city here. We train them and they take it away because they pay high. Not their fault, but our fault. The reason why that happened, I do not blame for the mayor, but the mayor has responsible to make the council stay together. For example, this May election, I have to stand out there. I have to bring the brochure to endorse the right person, the people with my vision, the same vision with me. Right now, on my council, we have 7 city council. 6 is same vision with me, only 1. Every city has at least 1. And the previous 30 years, they didn't do anything until 2019. I come to Haltom City. The investment there, just 2018, is just about $1 or $2 million. Now, after 3 years, $1.2 billion. And anybody been in Haltom City now driving through, you will see a big difference. Just give me 3 more years, you will see Haltom City will be a pretty good size of city. Taller, we cannot make wider, but at least taller. Talking about involvement, very important. If citizens involved, we have the public meeting twice a month. And before, we have about 4 or 5 people. Now, sometimes we have the whole, full the capacity of the audience. And they ask a lot of questions. Every question or any comment very important to me. And if they want to involve, we have the park, the board, commission, volunteer, like police, liaison, police, member, police, board member, everything. If you want to involve, and I encourage you to involve, even you're 18 years old, you are old enough to involve, to learn. Because the people sitting here, we're not making money to run for this job. My truck runs 13 miles per gallon, and the gasoline $4. So the money I make in the city not enough to pay for me, a week of driving around. And we also have the volunteer, like senior citizen. For example, every time we have the big dinner for the senior center, I was the waiter. You get to that level, what That's why the people love me. And that's why I get, the last time, my election, I got hit 78% of the vote. So, please, come to our meeting if you can, or in any city, to see what we are doing. Just not sitting here and say, hey, I go to school, I try to get a good job, do what you want. That's not the way, the responsibility of a citizen in that city you need to involve. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is open to any one of y'all that you would like to answer it. And is how can you discuss how the pandemic, in particular the pandemic's effect on travel and business and how it affected your city?
Well, I know I can speak for Euless. It affected us a whole lot. One of our major sources of revenue is when they built the rental car facility at DFW Airport, our council at the time, they wanted to do a revenue sharing agreement. And all the other neighboring cities were holding out for more money and more money. And they offered Euless a third of the revenue from the rental car center. And we said, you know, a third of the revenue is a whole lot better than nothing. So on the average travel year, we get roughly $13 to $14 million a year, and that is divided between the cities of Fort Worth, Euless, and Dallas. And it's a great source of revenue. And of course, during the pandemic, nobody rented cars. So that immediately took a big chunk, but we do have that allotted. So a third goes to the general fund, a third goes to capital projects, and a third goes to reserves. So in that sense, we did okay. Sales tax fell. We didn't know how we were going to do. As it turned out, overall, revenue-wise, we did much better than we anticipated. So I think the hardest thing for everybody was the fact that you just couldn't see people. And everybody got to the point where people got a lot meaner during the pandemic because they were stuck alone for so long. But now we're all recovering, and I am completely confident that we're going to be back to the way it was before. And as Alicia said, that nice and kind is going to come back to our world.
Thank you.
Is this to go down?
Anyone can
Okay.
answer.
It was already said that we don't get paid, and in actual fact, I get $23 a month to cover some expenses. During the pandemic, I spent probably 30 hours a week at City Hall working with the city manager to look at, well, what are we going to do? We ended up closing the library, we closed the aquatic centers, we closed the senior center, we closed the rec center. So because of the chance, particularly in the senior center, of people catching the virus on city because they're close together, we had to do that. When you do that, now you have all this staff. So we talked about who do we furlough. So we went through how we manage that. When the economy closed down, Northeast Mall shut down, and we were losing $100,000 a week off sales tax, lack of sales tax from the mall. So besides the people problem, what are we going to do about the finances? Luckily, as the mayor just told you, it really wasn't as bad because some stores like Lowe's, Mr. C's Hardware, those who sold fabrics, they stayed open, and all those stores did a bang-up business. It's unusual. Now, the bad thing that we found out, Best Buy, I bought a stereo during the pandemic. The city manager bought a computer, and we drove by and picked it up, called in, ordered online. 100% of the sales tax from all Best Buys in Texas went to San Marcos, Texas, because that's where the distribution was. They made out like a bandit in San Marcos. So hopefully that rule has been changed by the comptroller to where the sales tax will be given to where the purchase was made. We suffered through the close down, and then as things started getting better, slowly, very slowly, we opened it back up. Started with drive-by pickups for the library. The last city facility to open was the senior center for obvious reasons. And I can tell you I go there once a week to have coffee with some of the seniors. They were hurt. They were hurt mentally, because they really, a lot of them were widows or widowers, and they look to have that opportunity to meet with their friends. That's their only social outlet for a lot of them, and we took that away from them for whatever reason. So as we were able to open that back up, I cannot tell you the jubilation when we did those. They were able to get back and see their friends and enjoy the facilities there. So it was a tough time. I was making, I think, last time I calculated, 7 cents an hour for my time, getting really rich off that. But it was a labor of love, because we wanted to ensure that we did what was best for our employees and what was best for our citizens as we worked through this, and nobody had any history on what you ought to do and when you ought to do it. Next time around, I know we'll do things a lot different from what we learned, but it was something that really made our city okay as we went through it.
Can I give some huge kudos to Hearst for a second? Hearst deserves huge kudos because they opened up their conference center as a vaccine center. We would have all had to trek way somewhere in Fort Worth, we have no idea where, but they opened their conference center. And all the cities got firefighters to do vaccines and volunteers to check people in, but Hearst spearheaded that effort, and it was the best thing that could have happened to our area. So I want to thank Henry and his team in Hearst.
We were the #1 vaccination center in the county, and we vaccinated 186,000 arms. And I had the pleasure of making a video with the then mayor of Southlake too, and she said it got 20,000 hits. So I guess she and I are both famous now.
Y'all are popular. Oh yeah. Well, let me echo some of Mayor Wilson's comments about, how difficult it was as an elected official in those early days, because it's all popping up on my Facebook memories now from 2 years ago. We just didn't know what we didn't know. And, unlike the state and federal governments, we don't have massive public health budgets and professionals who are looking at all this data. So we're getting told these things as they're coming in. And I can remember, for me, I was on council, I wasn't mayor yet, watching it over the prior 2 months when it was raging through China, and getting told just conflicting stories, and some people were worried, some people weren't. And then when it hit here, Wednesday, March 11th, 2020, I'll never forget it. It hit really, really fast. And it's amazing to me, the compression of time. Like, I feel like those first 2 weeks took 2 years. It was so much data and so many decision points coming at us so fast. It was really, really hard. So, I think I'd echo your comments as well. We do things a lot differently the next time around, but we didn't know what we didn't know. It was interesting watching, if you guys have been to Southlake Boulevard, 1709 is kind of the main thoroughfare. It's where all the commercial traffic is. It runs next to Town Square. Historically in Southlake, one of the pain points has been traffic. We're always trying to reduce traffic congestion. We're always trying to ease traffic and improve mobility wherever we can. We spend a lot of money for that. I can remember driving down 1709 in April, it must have been early April, on a Saturday where usually it'd be bumper to bumper traffic for miles. And I was the only truck on the road. And for the first time, I found myself wishing for traffic because what that traffic represents is customers going to restaurants and going to retail and going to spend their money and providing support for all these I'm a small business owner, and my heart just went out to all these other small business owners, 2,000 of which make Southlake their location of business, and they have no customers, and it was really, really hard, but it was a perspective changer in a lot of ways. And so a few of the things we did in Southlake very quickly, we have signage restrictions, so businesses can advertise. Their signage needs to meet certain criteria, and we're pretty strict. But one of the things we did early in COVID is loosen those restrictions, let people put their signage on the roadways where normally they couldn't, so that they could reach their customers who might be driving by and tell them they're open for curbside or for in restaurant dining. We also loosened some of the restrictions around outdoor dining and making sure that the businesses could respond how they needed to try to get customers in the door. We did a whole lot of social media messaging. and Mayor Wilson's part of it, my predecessor, Mayor Hill. We were trying to reach people and help businesses reach their customers however we can using the city channels and just trying to get as much messaging and data out as we could. And I think that one of the things I'm most proud of, we actually took some of the state COVID money and we created a $1 million small business grant. So small businesses could apply for $10,000 grants, no strings attached. If you've been hurt by COVID, you can apply, try to make it as easy as possible to help that small business make payroll and make rent for a couple more weeks or a couple more months. And we were told after the fact it really made the difference for some folks. So it was a really difficult time. Very thankful it's in the rearview mirror, but yeah, just it took a lot of work. Everyone up here worked really, really hard in trying to ease the burden wherever we could. So.
I'd like to offer a little different perspective than what's been offered here. And it really depends on what happens in your city. It depends on the city, its makeup, and its size. With regard to the lack of travel and I'll say the social distancing, elimination of congregate settings, is that actually Haslet garnered much higher revenue during that period than normally. Why? Because we have people are still buying, they were still purchasing, but they were purchasing online, and we have an Amazon facility in Haslet, and those sales just shot up. So that increased tremendously. With regard to traffic, people that in Haslet, there's a lot of professionals that live in Haslet predominantly, and they still worked, but they worked online from home. So I gave people a lot of different perspective that yes, we can continue doing our work in our business, utilizing the technology that we've had in place for over 20 years and put it to work. But also, and it made us think a little different. This technology and being able to work remotely might be an answer to some of our traffic issues. For those people who can work remotely, maybe they should, if they have that choice. Anyway, different perspective from a different, now, Haslet's 2,500 people. We're a little different from Hurst or Euless or Southlake or the rest of the cities here. A little different makeup.
I just want to add one thing too. I thought of, John. We have a county judge that looked at the pandemic and said, what can we do? So he started off 3 days a week with all of the mayors, and we called in on a Zoom call and we discussed, what do? We do close our playgrounds? Do we do this? And we collectively came up with processes, since none of us had any idea what to do at the time. And it turned out to be a really good thing to see how all of our cities came together to be able to attack this program collectively. And I think that it made a big difference for how we handled the pandemic. So I want to thank all the mayors that participated in that.
Thank you guys so much.
Our next question is also open for any to answer. The next question is, if mayors don't get paid and the job takes all day, can only rich people run for mayor?
No.
No.
No, that's not true.
I can start with this one. So I think one of the favorite sayings, don't ever say you don't have time, just say it's not a priority. It's really all about time management. And that goes with whether you're volunteering in your community or mayor and you have a job, if you're a mom or a dad. It's all about time management, and you choose to what you prioritize. In my particular case, I work full-time, and my job takes me in and out of the country almost weekly. And I've raised 2 children. Gosh, not children anymore. They're 18 and 20 this month. But through time management, I was able to be PTA mom, sports mom at 99% of events and things like that, and able to keep up with my volunteer work, whether it was on PTA, boosters, or council, or in the community and now as mayor. But you just make the time. everyone has the time, they just have to make priorities. So I am by no means rich, but I make time to volunteer. So I think one of my pet peeves is when someone says, oh, I don't have time to do that. I'm like, have you seen my schedule? Like, I take that as a personal insult because I'm pretty busy and I make the time. So really, it's about you have the time. It's not about really making time, it's making priorities. But no, you do not have to have money to volunteer your time.
Thank you, guys. Okay, our next question is for the Honorable Mayor of Southlake. What do you find most valuable in being a mayor?
What do I find most valuable?
Yes.
Well, I think everyone gets into this at this level for out of a true sense of wanting to serve your community and make a difference, because none of us started as mayor, I don't think. Everyone started at council or in boards and commissions or other volunteer roles or PTO or all kinds of different places where we all thought we had something to contribute. And so we put our time into contributing there. And then at some point, people asked us to continue to step up into bigger and bigger roles. There's a biblical concept that if you're faithful in the small things, you'll be given bigger things. And I think that really applies to, we call it politics or public service. And so we all find it, I find it very rewarding to be able to really give back to the community in ways that I think I can add value. Just because I've been in this sort of city work for a decade, I've seen a lot and I know a lot, and I'm able to kind of give back in this role. It's hugely rewarding. And it's different. Local politics is totally different than state and federal politics. When I was in law school in Georgetown, I worked for Senator John Cornyn. My wife worked for Senator Hutchinson. So we kind of done the Capitol Hill thing on the federal side. Years ago, I was appointed by Governor Perry to be on the state licensing board for psychologists. So I've seen Austin, I've seen the state side. And we do not have the burden of having to deal with a lot of the hot button, red meat type issues that those guys and gals do. Our stuff is not nearly as sexy. We're trying to pave your roads, make sure your police and fire show up when they're supposed to and on time, and
Fill the potholes.
fill the potholes and make sure development's going well and lower your tax rates if we can. I mean, that's what we're trying to work on. It's quality of life issues. And so I think it's kind of freeing because we can do that in a nonpartisan way. We can do that in a way that helps everybody. So that's why I've always been attracted to local politics versus anything else. It makes sense, and like I said, I find it hugely rewarding. So,
Thank you so much. Our next question is for the Honorable Mayor of Hearst. What are some of your goals for the city during this term, and what are your plans to make those happen?
Well, number one goal is to make sure that we're very mindful of the expenditures of taxpayers' money. We believe in giving value. John talked about quality of life. We provide quality of life for our citizens more than any other form of government. And if you have a loved one having a heart attack, you better hope that there's an EMS person on site quickly to be able to handle that. Or want to take the grandkids for me out to the parks. Nice way to spend time with them. The seniors enjoy the senior center. So we look on quality of life things. So we want to make sure that those particular activities are well-funded but not overfunded and provide that for the citizens. Right now, the city of Hurst is built out. We have very few zoning cases. Our council meeting last Tuesday night started at 6:30. It ended at 6:45. Very nice. It's an envy of some cities, but we'd kind of like to have the empty land to develop. So we're having to come up with ways. For this next term, what we're doing is we're looking at all of our ordinances to see if they have to be updated to ensure that they're commensurate with what things are now. We're finding that there's a change in the philosophy of where people want to live. The old quarter-acre lot and the ranch-style house are just, young people can't afford them anymore. If y'all looked at housing costs, they went up 16% last year in Hearst for a house. So it's almost where they're priced out. So we have a development that's going in, 67 houses, single detached houses, 100% for rent. It's going to be a gated community. All the houses are for rent and will afford the opportunity for some people. And what I found when I had 44 years at Bell, and I managed about 61 people, and the young people felt like I'm here for 5 years, and then I'm looking to move on to another company. And so they don't want to be burdened with the mortgage. So this gives them the opportunity to live in a house and have all the amenities that has, and still not be tied down to be there for long term. So those are kind of some of the things that we're looking for at this next year in Hearst.
We're getting to the Q&A section, but we've been kind of doing that all along. And I just want to tell you that we are so very impressed with the number of questions. We can't possibly get to all of the questions that you have asked, so we're trying to prioritize some. And I'm going to ask the mayors a couple of the next questions. And so one of the questions that we have specific to the mayors of Watauga and Haltom City is that there has been an awareness of gang and drug problems in those cities. They're asking if you've been aware of those and how that might affect minors. So this is specifically to the mayors of Haltom and Watauga.
Well, thanks a lot. Yes, there has been an increase in gang violence. The last couple of weeks, it has targeted, or the spotlight has been on Watauga. I'm sure everybody knows we had 2 teens shot and killed right off of 377 back in that area. And it's been going on for a while, and the bad news is it's not just Haltom City and Watauga. It's now spreading to Watauga and Haltom City. And I don't mean that to blame any other city, but it's just a fact of life. It's just what we're going through right now. We're looking, as probably most cities are, our police department is understaffed. COVID gets blamed for a lot of things, but we lost a lot of tax revenue, which is what gives us the money to pay for all that stuff. So we're kind of rebounding. I can't go into a lot of detail, but I have been briefed by the police chief over the events here in the last few weeks. They're aware of it. We have gang units that are working. Haltom City, North Richland Hills, we're all working together, Fort Worth, to address it. But it stems from home, and that's not a popular answer, but that's where it starts. Homes and schools. I spoke with 2 police officers last night, and kind of joked about the middle school kids. They said they still have fist fights. When you get up into high school, it's knives and guns. When I was in high school, it was fist fights. I tell the story that our principal came to one of the fist fights I was in and pulled his truck up and got up on the hood of his truck and watched me and another gentleman fight. And when we got done, he said, "Enjoyed it, come see me in my office." And, but nowadays, you can't allow it. It doesn't go on. The violence just escalates. And one last thing I'll say is the shooting that occurred the other week. Social media was, ablaze with what all the excuses were. But in today's environment, it could have been gang, it could have been drugs, it could have been he cut in front of him driving down the street, it could have been he said something about his girlfriend, or he didn't like what he was wearing in school. And unfortunately, that's where we're at today as a society.
Okay, I just add on to him. Reason I let him go first because his city north of us, so north to south. By the way, I'm worked with the gang unit for 27 and a half years. Work with Mexican mafia and everything, and local gang. Last year we had 2 shootings, but involved with the kid like 16 years old, 2 homicide. And most of the time, because the parents did not play a role as a supervisor for kid. Most of children right now educated by iPad and iPhone. That's the problem right there. And if we bring some program like Boy Scout, Girl Scout, let them try for a month. You like it, you join it, or karate, or something like this. And another problem right now is free carry gun. At the officer for 30-some years, I just advise you, try to be nice on the road, because everybody can shoot you, and you even know and no witness. If even they fall, but just put a hand and say sorry, and you go home safe. Believe me, I was a fighter pilot. Somebody make me mad when I first come, it big problem. You know, I still have that kind of ego. But now, you look at the society, shooting, not everywhere, not much more, because everybody know each other have a gun. That good side. Haltom City, one of the, I believe one time they rate like number 56 or 58 safest city in the nation, but 30 years ago is not. Now our city, I'm proud with the police department, you know, and no problem. Everybody need to be nice with citizens, treat everybody, with respect. And I also request the ratio of the people being stopped by the police. Make sure not more black, more white with me. Tell me, you know, I want to see that report. Thank you.
The next question is to all mayors, but I'm going to ask Trophy Club and Haslet to respond because I know those are some fast growth areas. It says with the pandemic finally getting over, citizens are looking to get out more and invest in housing. What are some of the future housing developments and communities we can look forward to seeing in the upcoming years, including any parks or planned communities?
Well, for Trophy Club, it's probably not the best question because we're almost built out. We're only about 4.2 square miles, and we only have a few very small tracts left. So there won't be much new residential or commercial development. We do have a few exciting concepts in the works for our last little bit of land that we have. But as you said, the market is insane right now. There's just not the inventory. So currently the market is through the roof. I mean, people are seeing their home values increase, you know, twofold in the last year or two. But, you know, in our little town, we do have some fun things, some new things. Our town center, we're undergoing phase 2 and phase 3. So we have added some restaurants and retail and an apartment complex and townhomes. And we do have just over 30 new townhomes starting construction behind our high school, bordering Trophy Club in Roanoke. And like I said, we probably have I think 8 more small tracts of maybe 1 acre or larger size lots that we're developing, that the developers has started on. The whole process, as the other mayors have said, you know, we have several hoops you have to jump through that process with, you know, planning and zoning and development. But that process has started. So not too much left in Trophy Club, but what's coming will be fantastic. But one of my goals before the end of my service, I hope to get all of that nailed down in the works and within the next year, and look forward to seeing that. Then it's pretty much maintaining, and but there's still some fun things in the works. Sure, there's much more in your other cities.
Can I say a short thing? For the last 3 years, we have over 3,000 units built. This year, we will have 3 Marriott hotel built, and we have 16 acres of entertainment center with the Cowtown Brewer. We're moving here. And on commercial, on 121, we have the A1 Class A commercial moving. Our city, one of the fastest growing city except Arlington and Fort Worth. They are big brother. We don't talking about that. But, you know, our city, the only city located by 6 highway. You don't believe it. But only one problem with right now, we have a city hall built 1956 for a population of under 6,000 people. This year, we tried to put city hall again. They have been failed for 4 or 5 times. If we build this one 5 years ago, just 19 million, now it's 25. If we keep waiting, but they will go up. But only one thing why I want to push city hall so hard, because our complex, just like Mayberry, you know, like if you watch a film, Andy Griffin, there is no walkway space than office space. And they build for police, every department in there. And we don't have sprinkler system. We don't have the handicap ramp go into it. But the people keep saying, why you need a new city hall? The federal, they can shut down my city hall because they not comply with ADA. That's my dream. City hall will be the last one. Thank you.
Sure I will. Right now, you know, Haslet's population right now is about 2,500 people. And Haslet, if you're not familiar with it, we have about 10.7 square miles. A quarter of it is in warehousing because we're up at Alliance Airport and Burlington Northern Santa Fe. So anybody in the entire world of logistics knows where Haslet, Texas is, just because of warehousing and logistics. We have 7 subdivisions on the ground right now in various stages of development. They're all approved. When those subdivisions, they're all single-family homes. When those subdivisions are completed, our estimated population will be around 8,000, so 2,500 to 8,000. Now, Haslet's attraction, put it that way, is been historically large lot and an agrarian type lifestyle. You can go out, and many people own horses. You can drive through Haslet and you'll see cattle, you'll see longhorns, you'll see sheep, etc. So it's those folks who gravitate towards that kind of lifestyle is what Haslet is more well to accommodate. Now with the subdivisions and the newer subdivisions, some of those lots have decreased. It was at one time Haslet's minimum lot size was 1 acre. Then that changed to ½ acre. And then under when you have a planned development subdivision, it gives a developer opportunity to even decrease the lot sizes further. But so we are on a trajectory of growth, and that our population is definitely increasing, and we can almost, you know, and it depends on how many children each of these households have. Right now, for each household, the Census Bureau estimates there's 2.65 members per household. Well, that's husband and wife having 1 child, not even. So but what we're seeing is a lot of families are out there and they have 4 and 5 children. So that's changing quickly. So that 8,000, it might go to 10 or 12. But it's very family centric. The value of homes in Haslet have increased greatly, as everybody has experienced. I've lived in Haslet for, next month, it'll be 34 years in the same home, on an acreage. And our medium home price now is between $650,000 and $700,000. I thought I would never ever say that, but it is. But come to Haslet. We welcome you, and we have plenty of homes to offer.
Close to our end time, so I want to give a great warm welcome and thank you to our mayors, please. If the students stick around, our pizza is going to be here momentarily. So we're going to put a QR code up for an evaluation of the event, and the pizza will be here. It's on its way, so hang tight for a few minutes if you can to grab some lunch. And again, thank you for so many wonderful questions. We couldn't possibly get to all of them. Thank you.